Hi friends, we're looking at the top 10 most dangerous states in the US in this video. Even while a significant crime occurring a few blocks from your home would undoubtedly cause anxiety in the long term, it's likely that your neighborhood is safe. We wanted to get the facts straight and looked into FBI crime data to determine which states are the most hazardous in the United States, rather than depending on conjecture and popular opinion. You probably already know that situations like the ones we're about to discuss aren't ones where you should let your guard down too frequently. This study aims to identify the states in the United States with the greatest rates of crime using factual data. Despite being objective, this study does consider elements that nearly majority Americans would consider undesirable. You cannot, therefore, argue against the process, even though you may have strong feelings in either direction. As it happens, New Hampshire is the safest state in the US, but New Mexico turns out to be the most dangerous state overall. We developed this list of the top 10 risky states in America for 2023 after examining all 50 states. Before we begin this video about the 10 most dangerous states in the US, kindly make sure to click the bell symbol and hit the subscribe button. Let's now take a closer look at each of the top 10 states in the country for danger. Arizona is ranked 10th out of all the states in terms of hazard. Not the weather, folks. Arizona ranks as the 10th most dangerous state in which to live in the United States. Arizona is one of the 2 western states included on the list. Robberies and problems at the border between the United States and Mexico are actually Arizona's 2 greatest crime problems. In Arizona, there were approximately 24,488 home invasion robberies and 17,937 stolen autos in the previous year. What would you think if you returned home to a looted house? Arizonans are aware enough not to leave their doors unlocked, though. Here, the border is a big problem. Residents complain daily about attacks by immigrants, property damage caused by smugglers, and break-ins by burglars. Arizona has the 3rd highest rate of car crashes and the 3rd worst healthcare system in the country for its citizens. You may feel a little bit safer, knowing that you can carry a pistol here without a permit, at least. Although there are some dangerous parts of Phoenix, downtown is so dull that not even criminals like to hang out there. Colorado is number 9 on the list. Colorado may surprise you by being on this list, but property crime played a major role in the state's significant rise to the 9th position in the United States for 2024. Colorado has the 3rd worst property crime rate in the nation, which is very absurd when you consider how things were a few years ago. There were 294 murders in Colorado in the previous year, and the state has a 1 in 250 annual risk of violent crime victims. Glendale, Sheridan, and Alamosa are a few of the riskiest places. Oklahoma comes in at number 8. On our next visit on our tour of danger around the United States, we don't go very far. Oklahoma comes in 9th place. Even while violent and property crimes don't rank in the top 10 in any category, this state has some major problems when it comes to the total number of crimes committed per citizen, many of which are linked to poverty. Living in Tulsa in particular is a terrible idea. Indeed, over the past few years there has been a 4% decrease in violent crime and a 5% decrease in property crime. In the 2020 reporting year, inhabitants still had a 1% probability of becoming victims of violence and a 5% chance of becoming victims of theft or arson. In fact, the figures show that you would have a 1 in 100 chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime each year, and that's before accounting for the state's risk of tornadoes or its native stinging caterpillars. Some claim that the state's budget for Oklahoma creates jails rather than schools and healthcare, which is a problem that many people are unaware of and contributes to the state's problems. Is it a great place to live in Oklahoma? Yes, it is. But are there any particularly hazardous parts? Indeed. Missouri comes in at number 7. Missouri is the 6th stop on our tour of American danger. For the most part, most Americans would assume that Missouri is home to redneck farmers, and they would be correct. If you haven't visited St. Louis, you're missing out on something important. As of 2020, St. Louis had the 49th highest number of homicides per capita in the nation. Although the majority of crimes committed in this area are between rival gangs and within certain neighborhoods, this does not stop the violence from spreading to neighboring areas of St. Louis. Although most people in Missouri work hard, attend church, and take pride in their towns, and the majority of the state is safe, the true jerks in the show-me state ruin everything for everyone else. When it comes to stolen vehicles, cell phones, and even toys, Missouri is ranked 8th worst for property crimes. Alaska comes in at number 6. Do you want to leave? What about Alaska? These portions are pretty darn dangerous. The truth is that it is the most violent area in the country to reside. Although there aren't many sites in Alaska where people actually reside, the chances of a rape, assault, or murder occurring here are higher than anywhere else in the state's vast urban centers. That is a frightening thing. Additionally, Alaska ranks 13th in the US for the quantity of property crimes. The largest threat in many isolated Alaskan settlements that can only be reached by plane is not bear attacks, but rather the locals themselves and the absence of law enforcement to protect victims. There are at least 75 Native American settlements in Alaska without any police enforcement. Those residents, cut off from the outside world by vast distances and challenging topography, are forced to report crimes and wait for hours for the arrival of Alaska State Troopers in their community. Sadly, there are areas in rural Alaska where victims of abuse, whether they be women or children, may receive no assistance at all. Responders may arrive to a crime scene or a help request up to a day and a half in advance. Imagine being a victim of violence and being unable to leave your community to seek assistance due to inclement weather. What direction should you go? There is nowhere for you to go. In any case, you need be careful if you travel to Alaska, because in this uncharted territory, things can turn dangerous very quickly, whether it be from a bear or a wild inebriated local. Tennessee comes in at number 5. Is it surprising to learn that Tennessee ranks as the 6th most hazardous state in the United States? If you're from Memphis, you most likely concur. Memphis might be the worst American city in a lot of different ways. Last year, residents had a 1 in 49 risk of being raped, assaulted, or murdered, a 5% increase over the year prior to reporting. Shelby County is home to about 10,000 gang members. Why is there so much violence in Tennessee? Similar to several states we've previously examined, the state's high rates of drug use, poverty, and lack of well-paying jobs are all significant causes. Drug users and other individuals breaking into homes in search of drugs or money for drugs are a major source of property crime. It appears that there aren't enough police to handle the shady characters that turn such a beautiful state into a hazardous one. When it comes to violent crimes, Tennessee ranks 3rd worst in the nation overall. Would someone please offer to go on a nighttime solo walk near Sweetwater or Newport? Someone didn't believe that. South Carolina comes in at number 4. Which state in America is the 3rd most dangerous? That state is South Carolina. Property crimes are common in South Carolina, where citizens have the 6th highest likelihood of becoming victims of auto theft, robbery, or house invasion nationwide. If all of the crime in Myrtle Beach were eliminated, South Carolina would undoubtedly fall 10 spots in the rankings. Myrtle Beach was once a great destination for family holidays, but that is no longer the case. If you've visited Myrtle Beach in the past 10 years, you've probably noticed a lot of garbage, burglaries, criminal activity, and late-night gunfire while you try to fall asleep in your oceanfront hotel room. Here, the worst times to come are during Bike Week, the 4th of July, spring break, and any other holiday associated with warm weather. We're really disappointed in you, Myrtle Beach. A large portion of South Carolina is impoverished, which contributes to the issue of property crimes. Drug abuse is common, unemployment is high, and education is not given enough credit in many places. The National Safety Council gave South Carolina a failing grade for home and community safety and placed it 2nd to worst in the US for road safety, barely keeping it out of the bottom 10. Another area where South Carolina is falling short is with regard to home fires, drownings, and the safety of weapons for vulnerable road users. Is this state attractive? Some people claim that the coast is the most beautiful spot in America, but you can't just leave your Hyundai Elantra here and expect it to be there when you return with your keys inside. Arkansas comes in at number 3. Still in the South, Arkansas is the next hazardous destination for us. Another impoverished state in the South, Arkansas has considerably more homicides, rapes, assaults, and robberies per inhabitant than the national average. You should never leave your car doors unlocked if you reside in the natural state. In Arkansas in 2022, there were over 7,933 vehicles reported stolen. Oh, what a hoot! We mean no disrespect when we say that it's difficult to visit Little Rock. If you haven't been there, it consistently ranks among the most hazardous cities in the country. 50 murders a year is a shocking number for a city this size. While it's not quite as gritty as Memphis, there are still plenty of unsafe places. And Pine Bluff is really awful. However, you might be able to avoid difficulties if you're not engaged in any illegal activity. Louisiana comes in second. The next most hazardous state is not too far away from us, Louisiana. Does crime have a correlation with poverty? Indeed. Louisiana is an extremely impoverished state with an extremely high rate of theft and attacks. The Bayou State has 5 cities on its list of danger hotspots. Alexandria, Monroe, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans are all areas you should be extra cautious when venturing out after dark. And after the sun goes down, don't even consider going through the marshy parts. In terms of overall violent and property crime rates, Louisiana is in the top 5 states. Not too long ago, the Bayou State recorded over 11 murders and non-negligent manslaughters per 100,000 inhabitants. Mississippi had the next highest rate, at 7. New Hampshire has the lowest rate, 1 per 100,000 residents. Thus, the murder rate in Louisiana is 10 times greater than that in New Hampshire. The fact that Louisiana has more prisoners per resident than any other state and is the prison capital of the United States may not be a coincidence. The culture here is rich, the people are among the friendliest in the South. It's only that the poverty, heat, and permissive gun regulations make this the wild, wild South. And lastly, New Mexico comes in first. Which state in the Union is the riskiest? What does New Mexico sound like? All of the problems we outlined above are present in New Mexico: a violent and impoverished Native American population, a largely illiterate populace devoid of prospects for employment, and as a border state, problems with crime and migrant laborers entering the nation. In America, the number of property crimes is by far the largest, while the number of violent crimes per person is the second highest. This indicates that New Mexico has more robberies, thefts, and break-ins than any other state in the Union. This dilemma is exacerbated by socioeconomic problems and substance misuse, as well as by the state's location across important interstates that connect to Mexico and the West Coast. One location accounts for half of the state's recorded crime rates: Albuquerque, where auto theft rates are at an all-time high. It's common knowledge that men in Florida are violent and insane, but what about men in New Mexico? If you're from New Mexico, you probably spend all your time worrying about crime and are quite bored. Well, at least the sunsets are beautiful. That's everything we have for you today then. I appreciate you seeing. Please click the subscribe button if you liked this video's content so you can see more like it. In the comments section below, please rank the top 10 most dangerous states in the United States in your opinion. Both others and I would adore reading those.